to them to just one and one, yeah. And I'll just oh yeah, okay, that one. Oh, and also the shamas, the up here. I didn't realize it fit in this one. Are you guys I know that it's a very busy season. We're having Hanukkah here on the first one that we're doing as a community is Friday night, the 27th. Okay, because well, actually, are any of you coming to the Chinese restaurant for the first for
Chinese Max?
for
Chinese Max?
No, it's called China whatever it's called.
China Buffet.
China Buffet, yeah. If you're coming there, that somebody will have a menorah there. So at your very least, this is a hard thing to do because of all the holidays, but come to that night if you can make it. You'll have a nice Chinese dinner with everybody, and we'll take over a section, and somebody will probably do the candle lighting. Then Friday night, the 27th, I will be here leading Shabbat services. God willing, we have good weather, and we will light candles then. But the big one is going to be Sunday, the 29th, here in the social hall, and all along the back wall, the side wall, people will set up their menorahs, or better called Chanukiot. It should be really nice. And we will, there it is. Okay, I found the material for tonight. All right. So to review Hanukkah a little bit, I'm not going to send post the article again. I got the what do you call it? The crossword puzzle. And I have the Latke Bowl. Okay. And I have holiday study sheets. Okay. Let's put all that stuff in the chat right now. Okay. All right. Back to. All right, Rick, you're stuck with me. Are the boys okay? They're hungry. They know there's food here. All right. Ed. Intro. Yes, they are. Well, that's because he is very strict with them. All right.
I can help you, so it's like something. I feel like I'm just a.
Why can't I find what I'm looking for? Oh, okay. Let's do it from the AOL account.
Hey, maybe almost a year.
It doesn't say it didn't take it real long.
Her dad died last November, so it's been over a year.
I just need to do.
Oh, shoot. Let me see here. All right, I can do it. You know, I can do this stuff by myself without the material, but I want to have the Hanukkah stuff in front of me with you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
No, got that there. Okay. Intro, Torah terms. No, not that material. All right, I'm going to take from here. Okay, here we go. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to give you guys a little quiz, but it's open book. And Taylor, I know you missed some of the class, and certainly so did Jessica, but we'll do it together. And I'm going to use the going to use a test that has some of the questions all answered as well. Okay, so all right. So begin with. Let's do this. Let's take the. So when you come to the whoops, Rick, come on. Oh, okay. What? Oh, you're walking those guys out. Okay. All right. I'm just going to go back to big screen. Do you guys all see me well? I want to see myself well too. Okay. View speaker. Come on. View speaker. Why isn't it working? Devin, you need to make me the co-host because it looks like I'm talking, but okay.
That already did. Let me double check.
Okay. All right, that's okay. If I can't see myself. Everybody's very small. Okay. Oh, and view. Oh, I know what I do. View gallery. Okay, there we go. Okay. So there are many different kinds of menorahs or Chanukiot. And I was talking today with another, the student I mention all the time, Herbert, my guy from LA. And he asked me, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And most of you already know some of the basics of Hanukkah. And as I said, I have here a whole booklet I was going to show you. So what you want to do, first of all, is make sure that if you don't own one, buy one, come here, you'll have the Hanukkah here with our celebration. Okay, what is the name of this tall, here, oops. What of this candle in the middle?
Shamash.
Shamash. But in Yiddish, you hear it as shamas. And by the way, shamas is a great word to know because not necessarily today in contemporary synagogues, but the shamas in Europe and even here was the person who was responsible, like the custodian of the synagogue. So shamash means helper. And it means the one you use. And so you use this middle candle. Here it is. And this menorah, this Chanukah was my parents'. It looks very classy and old. It is a replica. It is a replica of a German kind of menorah. And when you come on Sunday the 29th, you'll see every kind of menorah. Some people have 4 or 5 of them, and they bring them up. There's some that look very modern. If you're not doing anything this Thursday at 1:00, go to the Capitol. And Chabad is going to have their annual Hanukkah event, but it's pre-Hanukkah because it's early, because Hanukkah starts so late this year. Okay, so this is the shamash. And what you do, just to remind you, I'm sorry some of you got it, and I'm looking at you. So I'm facing you. And this guy, we'll take this. This is number 1. Okay, but is that right? Is this fixed? Are you seeing one on the far right?
Mhm.
Okay, because that looks like in the film. So this is candle number 1. Number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You light the shamash first. Shamash, you light it now. I wanted you to see tonight, and you'll see it when you come on the 29th. This is an oil, special kind of candle, so to speak, that is made with, like oleomargarine. So this is solidified olive oil, the holiest kind of candle, the holiest kind of light that was traditionally used in the temple was olive oil. So somebody came up with a brilliant idea, except it's getting all over my hands. You got a napkin here somewhere? No. Rick is my assistant here. So you can use that kind. You can use a regular candle kind. That's all right. Don't worry about it. Rick, I don't want you to keep running around. Every time you run around, the dogs jump up. Anyway, you sing blessing number 1. All right. And we're not going to do it tonight, but we say, Blessing number one, same as the tune for, same as the, thank you, same as the, not the tune, same as the words for the Friday night blessing. Remember, all blessings that are ritual are Asher Kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik, and then we get Ner Shel Chanukah, and the blessing is, I'll do it, and why not? So you have it on recording. It's a different tune than the Friday night one. So you light the shamas, and then you begin to light candle number one, like that. Okay. And on the first night, you put the shamash back where it was. Where's that big box? Can you get me that box over there? I keep on having you get up and do things. Oh, I didn't bring them? Are there any other candles here? Did I bring? I thought I brought a bunch of regular candles. Oh, here, there. Here's my other set of candles. These are beeswax candles, regular candles, very nice. And you can put them in this menorah too. So this is just a little bent. You find we sell candles here in our gift shop as well. Yeah, I know, I can fix that. So if I use this would be my shamas. And the only tradition that not everybody follows is the shamas has to be separate from the other ones. In this case, it moves, it can be picked up. Some people have it where it's on the end. Most of them have it where it's in the middle. And so on this one, again, right to left. So is everybody clear on that? You light them in order of the day. And then, so the first blessing is Baruch atah Adonai, as if I'm lighting. Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah. It's in the book. That's right. It's all the books have them. And the second blessing is a very interesting blessing. It says, we bless you, God, source of all life, for the miracles that you made for our ancestors in days of old at this time. And that's kind of interesting. So, so it says, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim la'avotenu bayamim hahem ba'azman hazeh. And that is the second blessing. So again, I just tell you have it on recording for next time. But come to these events. You'll get a Hanukkah booklet, you'll get the blessings, and look them up in the material in the books. I want to remind everybody, I am just the teacher. I am not the entire resource. You got to do, somebody's here. Maybe somebody came in person. Thank you, Rick. So the third blessing is very interesting. And you'll hear it at other times as well. The third blessing is the blessing we say on all happy occasions, all positive events. When Grandpa comes to visit, you know what? Lock the door. Okay, they probably did. I don't know who just came in. Maybe somebody was looking for the candy sale. So let me, just so you have it, let me post in the chat the blessings. Nope, that's not it. Who's that? Who is it? Oh, it's Tim Solon. Tim, they just left.
I'm going to give Phyllis a call real quick.
Okay. I don't know how far away she lives.
I can run it.
Okay.
He already paid though.
But is the door locked?
I'll look at your email.
Okay. All right. I can't find the Hanukkah blessings on this computer right now. All right. Anyway, now the other things that are important about Hanukkah for you to think about is, and this is, I said this to our class a few weeks ago. There are three overlapping themes that are all coming together at this time of year. And they are, the one that you already know is assimilation versus isolation, or being proud of, keeping our culture. So religious freedom is the dominant theme. The second theme that is very obvious is Jewish liberation, being proud of our Jewish, that we fought against the Greeks, the Assyrians rather, and we managed to keep our country. And so it's very, I'm not saying it's just Israel centered, but the third theme, and that is really what's interesting, is that over the centuries, because Hanukkah always came in the winter time, and this is very interesting kind of dynamic, because Hanukkah comes in the winter time, it always seems to come, and this year especially, in the middle of the winter solstice. So in the Northern Hemisphere, nobody knew about South America or South Africa then, but in those countries, Hanukkah comes in the middle of the summer, but in the summer solstice. But because of the dynamic of the darkest time of the year, the third association with Hanukkah is light. Now, and when we come to the 29th, I'm going to hand out for everybody just readings on light. Readings by J.R. Tolkien, Ursula Le Guin, different poets. There's a great saying poem by Leonard Cohen. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Is anybody familiar with that? It's beautiful. You see it somewhere. So light, the metaphor of light as freedom, light as hope, light as a healing type of energy is very prominent in Hanukkah. Now, here's the funny thing. Two dynamics. Remember, we talked about we don't want to assimilate, but they borrowed from the Romans at the time. So there was a holiday or a date, an event called Saturnalia that was part of the Greco-Roman tradition. Saturnalia was the solstice. And so it was the darkest time of the year. And they believed in their kind of naivete that if they light fires, that will bring back the sun, because they really, didn't know how astronomy works. So that idea of lighting flames in the wintertime might have been part of the early traditions of Hanukkah that the Jews picked up. Listen to what I'm saying. The original menorah, we all know, I've talked about the original menorah was this, right? The menorah that was in the temple was 7 branches, and it was part of our tradition. It was a holy object. We've talked about that. It was our national symbol, religious and national symbol. Some people even think that it might have been a symbol based on the burning bush. So that's what was in the temple in Jerusalem. And that's what the Maccabees went back in to light. And the Greeks had, destroyed everything and turned everything into a shrine for Zeus. And there was pig fat everywhere, all that. So the original 7-branch menorah was very holy. So then we have about 300 years well, not quite 300, more like about 160 years. So 168 is when Antiochus decides to do away with all Judaism. 165, that's 3 years later. 3 years later, the Maccabees are able to regain the temple. So they relight, as you saw in the films, they relight the menorahs and all that. Now, remember, I always say this. Many holidays have their roots in, that looks like great grapes. I'll have some afterwards. Look at this. Hey, he's wearing a yarmulke. Come over here, Rick. Look at this guy. It's a great. Where'd you get that yarmulke?
Amber buys.
That was so cool. Your wife is so encouraging.
Looking
Of-
good.
Yeah. I mean, and it's got the alphabet on it. So, many holidays, we will be seeing this in the coming semester, were rooted in the Roman experience, the Jewish experience under Rome. We're talking about, so let's say it's Passover. I'll get back to Hanukkah in a minute. The Pharaoh oppressed us. The Pharaoh made us slaves. Let's talk about freedom, 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 freedom. But all the time they're talking about the Seder. And you know this, those of you who grew up with Christian backgrounds, the Seder, the Last Supper was a Passover Seder. So we're living under Roman oppression, but we don't want to say anything about the Romans. So let's talk about Pharaoh. Let's talk about Pharaoh. Pharaoh. But hey, watch the door. No, I'm talking to imaginary person. Watch the door. The Romans might be coming by. Rick thought I actually meant watch the door. He was looking over there. So then Tu B'Shvat, which is coming up, also is a holiday that began post-biblical after the destruction of the temple as a way of remembering the Holy Land. Purim, same idea. Purim is all about the Jews of Persia being persecuted and attacked by this evil anti-Semite. But really, what we're really talking about is the Romans. So what happens with Hanukkah is the same thing. The Romans, I know we're talking about the Greeks. What happens when the temple is destroyed for good by the Romans? And you all see this when you go to if you or look at a map or look at a picture of the Ark of Titus. The Ark of Titus in Rome has this beautiful, bas-relief picture of Tim. Why don't you stay if you want to learn this with us? You can stay if you want to learn with us. The Ark of Titus has a bas-relief of Roman soldiers carrying the menorahs, and they're carrying all the gold and silver from the temple. In fact, I read this recently. The price of gold dropped during after the conquest of Jerusalem, of Judea, because there was so much gold that it glutted the market. Isn't that weird? All right, so they took everything out of the temple, all the menorahs, all the different ritual objects. So what happens, there is a sense, and we talked about this as well, the rabbis did not want to emphasize the Hasmonean rebellion. Instead, what do they talk about? Oh, the miracle of the oil, the lamp that was supposed to only go for one day, and look, it went for 8 days. Isn't that a miracle? What's the real miracle? The real miracle is that they were able to beat back a huge Greek army. So what happens to Hanukkah is it becomes a home ceremony. And that's why we have the 8-branch menorah today. Isn't that interesting? That what essentially happens is that a holiday or a very minor rebellion against Greeks from 150 years earlier, after the Roman oppression, becomes a statement of faith. So I'll review. Let me finish about the connection to Saturnalia. It is possible. I don't like to make a pronouncement. It is possible that under the pressure of all this, lights and pagan belief systems, that the people of Israel probably thought, hey, let's light candles. It's dark, it's dark, it's dark. And so the rabbis didn't want to let people do that. So they said, oh, no, we'll light our own menorah. Now, let me move it forward in time. I got Reverend Tim here, but like pastor or father? Reverend. I call you Reverend. Do you know the origin of Christmas lights? Does anybody know the origin of Christmas lights? Commercialization? All right. Do you know that in the colonial period in America and even in England, people would light a candle in their windows? And you see this in old movies. And also Advent. Now, how does Advent work? You light, because I got a Christian minister here. Don't you light a candle per week as it's getting closer?
It depends on your denomination.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, okay. So it's very different from the Catholics but all these religions, the old pagans, the new pagans of Europe, the early, I guess, British and American colonists all love this idea of having lights. And so it used to be in colonial times that people would light one candle in each window, not a menorah, but they would light one candle, so people could see as they were walking by, and it was a statement of faith. Okay, so then somehow, I don't know when, because I didn't study that issue, but somehow somebody got the crazy idea of when electric lights were invented of having lights. Okay, so Hanukkah, even though Christmas and Hanukkah are totally different holidays, Christmas is the major what can I call it, sacramental holiday of the Christian faith, and Hanukkah is a very minor holiday in the Jewish calendar by virtue of the fact that they happen to call it, must be faith that you showed up today. By virtue of the fact that all these years we have had this, this issue, Hanukkah has become a bigger holiday than it would have been. Okay, so during the Middle Ages, people lit a small Chanukah. In America, Hanukkah has become a big deal. So, all right, anybody have any questions? You guys,
I just have a question about the menorah branches. Do you see 7-branch menorahs often in Jewish homes?
well, not in homes, but we have them right here in the synagogue.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question, Taylor, because there was a time when they did, and you can still find them. It was customary to light a 7-branch menorah. Like today, they light Shabbat candles. So again, the colonial period and through the Middle Ages, it wasn't prevalent, but it was, some places people would have a little oil lamp and they would light 7 of them or 6 plus 1. By the way, I should tell that too. The original symbolism of the 7-branch menorah, there's a lot of different understandings of it. The dominant one is 6 days of the week plus Shabbat, right? So so that's kind of neat. That makes sense. The other one that's very common is that, as I said, the burning bush. And then there's Kabbalistic. Well, maybe when we get into the Kabbalah study, I'll show you there is a version of the tree of life, which is part of Kabbalah, that looks like a menorah. That is, 7. So you don't have those 7-branch ones around much anymore. Who took them over? The church. Many churches will have a 7-branch, but it's not a going up and down. It goes this way. And I found one at a garage sale, and I might still have it at home. And it moves up and down. So you can go this way, you can go that way. So, but now here's where Taylor's right. Many synagogues, if not all, will have a menorah in the sanctuary. So we have them in a little one, we have in the big one. So and I should have said this, and I think I did a few weeks ago. I want to repeat it. The first symbol of Judaism, the first, physical symbol of Judaism was that 7-branch menorah. Number one, Romans outlawed it. You can't have that. That's like walking around with an American flag, or the Confederate flag. You've been conquered. You may not have that symbol anymore. Okay, well, this is 8 branches. Oh, and it's a little guy. It's just in the house. So so people always ask, you didn't ask this question, where did the 6-pointed star come from? The Middle Ages. It was a Kabbalistic symbol. Every time I say Kabbalah, I worry that somebody's going to say, oh, Kabbalah. All it is, it was the 6-pointed star that was considered to be the seal of Solomon. And again, there's symbolism that it's a triangle up and a triangle down. And what is the triangle up? It's humans beings facing God. The triangle down is God facing us. And where do they meet? In the heart. And if I can be so esoteric, do you know what the symbol of the heart is in Hinduism? A six-pointed star. Go figure. Okay, where God and humans meet. So anyway, no, we do not have very many, and that's why people get confused, Taylor. You're not alone. Everybody says a menorah. So menorah means, the word menorah, I'm glad we're being recorded. Word menorah means, all it means is candelabrum. Candelabra? Candelabrum. Yes. Now, if you were here tonight, I was going to show you, I found a wooden one that I was going to offer if anybody would like to have it. And I have a little guy that you can travel with. One more funny story, not funny, but a colleague of mine, I just saw him online the other day. I mean, I saw he was doing a movie. Joshua Plout and I went to, he was a Hill director at Trinity College in Connecticut in Hartford area. And I was at Wesleyan and UConn. And we said, let's get out of Dodge, let's get out of the snow. And we went to Jamaica. Two rabbis go to Jamaica. And it happened to be Hanukkah during that period. I mean, we probably did some of it at home. And so I brought my Hanukkah candles and lit them on the beach in Jamaica. And the Rastas came by and they said, "What are you doing, man?" I said, "It's Hanukkah, we're lighting candles." "Oh, you worship Jah." And it was a trip and then, it's Jamaica, so there's tourists. The tourists are coming by. Before I knew it, I had 30 people around these candles in the sand. Mind you, I'm looking at Tim. I'm not a missionary. I'm just a proud Jew. So, okay, that's.
Question.
What's that?
Oh, I have a question.
Yes. Jess.
So being that there's like Jews all around the world, do they all celebrate Hanukkah? Like even the ones that are, let's say like Jews in Brazil or something, or Jews in Africa or Jews?
Yes, it is universal. It is universal. In fact, Jessica, I can just put it this way. All Jews who are educated all celebrate all the same holidays. But we'll get into this next semester. I was going to show tonight part 3 of the Jews or people's history. Where do you were thinking of perhaps Sephardic, Ashkenazi, Ethiopian, but not, you were saying geographically. First of all, geographically, the Jews that are in South Africa, most of them were Ashkenazi, were Jews from Europe. Their parents came from Europe. They were, in many cases, refugees from the Holocaust. But this is longer for next time. Ashkenazi means Europe. Basically means Germany, Poland, Russia. Sephardi is a term that means Spain, Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal put together. There's a third group, and that's the people who never left the Middle East, Jews who migrated to Baghdad. In fact, we're going to watch the film. Baghdad or Baghdad. I learned from my Iraqi professor, Baghdad. So many Jews after the Roman destruction, you asked a simple question, just like Taylor asked about the menorahs. You got me on a riff here. So different, like but not like. You can say, oh, hey, there's Irish Catholics, there's Italian Catholics, there's South American Catholics. Fine. What happened with us is we moved to those places. So the core of the Jewish community after the destruction of the temple was based in Baghdad, Iraq today. Then there was a migration of that group along south through the North Africa, and they eventually moved to Iberia, which is, as I say, Spain. Meanwhile, and you'll see this in the film, a very adventurous group of Jews after the destruction moved to Rome. Even though Rome was the conqueror, it was a nice place to live. And so eventually, a very adventurous group of them followed their Rabbi Colonimus, you'll see this in the film, up through the Pyrenees into the Rhine Valley. And they became the Ashkenazi community. And, I have to be frank, I don't know how melanin works. Not melatonin, that's the stuff you take to sleep. I don't know how people become lighter, right, over time. But maybe the Ashkenazi Jews of Poland and Russia living there, look at Sam, Sam's family's from the Ukraine, I don't know how they got to be so white. I'm beige, the Jews who moved to Yemen stayed dark. There are Jews from Yemen who are as dark as Africans. And the Jews from Ethiopia were, again, where did they come from? So, but the answer to your question is,
It's actually Jews in Africa too. I just watched a documentary yesterday. There's a Jewish community in Ghana. I thought that was really interesting.
correct. And the other thing that's interesting is, your question is, do all Jews celebrate all the holidays? Well, because of the time frames, there were Jews who moved to Cochin, China, and India, and Africa, the Ethiopian, and so some of them did not have contact with the rabbinic tradition of the Talmud. So yes, there were Jews who did not celebrate the later post-biblical holidays for a long time. As time has gone on, I mean, we have the internet now, but even before the internet, there were travelers, and they would say, "Hey, you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that." So when the Ethiopian community was in touch with the rabbis of Israel, there was a big controversy because they didn't celebrate in the same way. The standards of kashrut were different, but it's all legitimate. But today, I'd have to be straight with you. Yes, everybody celebrates all the same holidays. But the big caveat is different foods. You want to hear some more stuff on Chanukah? What's a latke? And if you tell me it's Andy Kaufman, I'll jump out of the screen at you. What's a latke?
Potato pancake.
Potato pancake. Many of I was going to show you a dreidel tonight, but many of the customs of Hanukkah did not come about until the Middle Ages. So there's an interesting theory. Again, you're in Europe. People are in Europe. Other families are in Iraq or Yemen. It became commonplace. Again, this is just folk traditions. Hanukkah really is a folk holiday, if I can be honest. It's a holiday created by the people. The rabbis legislate, you light the candles this way, you say this blessing, you say the Hallel, that's the Psalms of praise, and so on. But as far as the traditions, you didn't have to stay, Tim. I'm just enjoying this.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I think the same thing happened for Christmas. How come one community does this kind of cookie and some communities do this kind of cookie and ham, turkey, whatever. So it became tradition. This is just, again, folk tradition. I'm not telling you this is the way you do it. Oil. The oil is holy. The holy oil, the oil and the olive oil in the temple. So what did Jewish cooks do? I'm not going to say Jewish women, but Jewish women were the cooks. They came up with a way to celebrate. They had extra olive oil left over. Maybe they had we bought too much oil for the menorah. So in Europe, they would fry whatever vegetables they had and make it into a pancake. And guess what? Now I'm going to blow your minds. Where did potatoes come from? Ireland. And potatoes did not come to the New World. They were not part of the New World. They came over and then they were planted here. And they didn't have potatoes in much of Europe. So they made latkes out of leeks and onions and carrots, basically fried vegetables. Okay, so it's what is that called in It's like naan bread in India. I mean, I'm very cross-cultural. So whatever you got, you'd fry. Now, in Sephardic countries, they would take flour and fry it, and they called it buñuelos. So I never had buñuelos as a kid growing up. I never knew what they were. But buñuelos are kind of a sweet cookie. And then now, when you come here on the 29th, you will see a third kind of food. What is that? What is the jelly donut called?
Is it sufganiyot?
Yeah, say it again.
Sufganiyot?
Sufganiyot. Sufganiyot. It's a Hebrew word. So latke is Yiddish. Buñuelo is Spanish. So and I mean, Jessica asked a question about how people celebrate. So we all celebrate the same holidays, but we have different foods, very interesting traditions. So the latke came from Europe, the buñuelos came from Spain, and the sufganiyah came from the Middle East and now pretty much Israeli. Another thing about Hanukkah that's interesting is the candle business. Olive oil is the traditional ones, but there's nothing wrong with using. Oh, is an electric menorah kosher? What would your answer be, Sam? What would you think?
Yes.
Okay, yes and no. Yes and no. Again, if you don't have any choice, I grew up with an electric menorah. I didn't know about the candles. For my mother, it was easier. When I started working in the prison, I insisted. I got a memo from the war. Flames in a forensic setting, like a mental hospital or a prison. I had to check out a lighter from the lieutenant's office to go over to light the menorah. And so most of the other prisons did not allow, and we were level 1. We were a minimum security. So I was able to light a menorah, but only I could light it. I couldn't let the inmates get near the lighter. So we had an electric one also. But if you can get a candle one or lit one. But I would say if you have children, Taylor, if you got little kids, I would get the little bulb one. Maybe when they're older, you get the, but yeah, birthday cakes.
Yeah, we have an LED one. And then they were really disappointed it wasn't going to be real fire. So I do have a regular one too. So we're going to do that one.
For sure. Okay. I wanted to do more tonight on the review of the holidays, but I want to call your attention to and the review of the period. Reminding you, I don't expect you guys to come out of this as scholars of Jewish history, but let me at least put this up there and see how you do. Where is it? Hang on just a second. Is it? Oh, it's right there in, it's right on the, on my, yeah, that printout. Is that the one? Yeah, but I'm trying to copy it or save it. Okay, Rabbinic and Hellenistic Review. This is just great because it's like Jewish trivia. Let's see, where is it? It's under education. No, it's under ritual. Okay. MS ritual. No, it's under ed. I should have transferred everything to this computer, but I sent it to you guys. Okay, so I'm going to take it from the email. Okay. Yep. 2-page quiz. This was a quiz I gave to my high school students at a Jewish day school in LA. Who can tell me what happened? And I have the version that is available with the answers and one without the answers. Who can tell me from what I've taught you what happened in 586 BCE? Emily knows. She's mumbling.
The first temple
Bingo.
was destroyed.
First temple was destroyed. Okay, if I can find, oh, there it is. Okay, I got it. All right. So this is the version that is no answers. I'll do the version that has answers in a minute. Okay, I'm going in alphabetical order. Who can tell me what happened in 333 BCE? Is it
It was something with Alexander, but I don't remember what.
Alexander? That's an easy number to remember. Alexander, that's about when the conquest happens, 332. All right. So it is important to know these dates. Now, this is easy, 3 and 4, so close. What happened in 168 and 165 BCE? The other A person, Antiochus, or by the way, there's two pronunciations of every name. Antiochus in Greek or Antiochus in English. So that's when Antiochus, in 168, he says, no more Mr. Nice Guy. You all have to follow the Greek way. And the rebellion broke out 3 years later to the day, more or less. The Maccabees retook the temple. So that's the period. Now, they took over in 165. And as I've told you guys, it was kind of more like a truce. It wasn't, oh, we won. The Syrians just gave up because they had other battles, and they made a deal with the Hasmoneans, and they said, you guys can rule, we're going to let you. And so for 102 years, that's the exact time, there was a kind of an independent kingdom in Judea. In 63 BCE, this is the other significant date. Boom, 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 boom. Here come the Romans. That's when the Romans took over. All right. So let's see how you do. All right, let's just skip number. These were matchings, okay? And all this I sent you is available with the answers. Who can tell me? If you don't know the answer, it's okay. What was the name of the leader of, well, no, let's do this first. What was the name of the father who led the rebellion? Sam, come on. Sam, you're going to fail.
Mattiyahu.
Matityahu. Or if he's a Hasidic reggae star, is Matisyahu. That's Matisyahu is a reggae guy. He shaved his beard, by the way, though. He's no longer a chassid. So Matityahu was the old man. And so it's the answer 25. The answer is B. Killed a Jew. Now, this was a test for the kids, so I try to make it a little bit hard. Is this readable? I'll make it. Yeah, okay. And what was the name of the town where that happened? It's up here in 17, Modi'in. So, and that is... you know what? Let me switch over to the answer one, and so it's a little easier for you guys.
Is Modi'in in Judea?
Modi'in is currently in Israel. It actually exists. It's a moshav. So let me get that one out, and let me let's see. Under, why can't I go back to AOL? Hang on just a second. Oh, AOL is over here. And yeah, I sent this to you guys also. 1 second here. Sent, and it's over there. So that way you don't have to sit here and go crazy. Now you're looking at my screen. I'm looking at all my emails. Chanukah. Okay, sent. Is that are you looking at my AOL? Is that what I'm showing everybody okay, where is that? Okay, there it is. I'd rather show you the one version of it in the email with the answers. Remember, I had all this right here for you guys in person, but I'm not gonna. Okay, here it is. 1217 1217. Don't tell me I'm disorganized though, because I was very organized. Here we go. Deeper resource. Okay, resources. So, okay. What was the name of the guy who led the rebellion? The third son. His name was Judah. Judah Maccabee, right? Oh, I see. I didn't send that one today. I sent it last week. All right. Oh, no, here it is. Rabbinic period review. With answers. Is that the one? Come on, I can't read it. Okay, let's see. There it is. Okay, I've got it now. Okay, so I have to stop share and start share. So now you have the version with the answers. All this was sent to you guys. Okay. So, and this was meant to be a review of also the rabbinic period, not just the Hanukkah stuff. Okay. There was a term, number 16. I want to go over this with you guys. 16. See that there? Rick is going to be a genius now. There was a term for well, no, let me go back a second. This is not, in order because it's a test. Hellenists, what were the Hellenists? Who were the Hellenists? They were the people, they didn't worship Helen. The answer is G. They were upper class assimilationists. Okay, so there were the people who wanted to assimilate and fit in like that guy in the movie. They wanted to be like the Greeks. So the second group was 22, the Hasidim. So the answer is A, the pious Jews who would not fight on Shabbat. They were not today's Hasidim, right? But they were very Orthodox, very pious for that time. And they were so pious, they said, we'd rather be martyrs than, and that sets the stage for you guys, right? Martyrdom was a big deal back then. If they kill me, then I'm going to heaven. So, the third group, which we know quite well, is the Maccabees, okay? And the Maccabees, or the Hasmoneans, the 20 and 23 and 21 are close. The Hasmoneans were the rulers. The Maccabees was the nickname of the hammerhead of Judah Maccabee. So there's another term I want you to learn, and that is this number 16, apikoros. Let's say it together, apikoros.
Apikoros.
Apikoros is a Greek word, and it sounds a lot like, if you think about it, Epicurean. Who were the Epicureans? And the Apikoros is just the Greek version of that. The Epicureans were a group they were Greeks, and they believed, and these are not Jews, but the Epicureans believed that, the right thing to do is to have a good life, go to the gym, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. They didn't give a shit. Excuse my French. They really just said, oh, that's what the gods want us to do. And so that movement in Greek philosophy became very prominent. Another group was called the Stoics, if you ever learn about that. The Stoics were, you got to live a good life, be strict. And so the Epicureans were very popular among Hellenists. So the Jewish term, or the Greek term for that is apikoros. So the apikoros were people, even though I said the Hellenists were ones who were assimilated, the answer for number 16 is L, a Jew who rejects Jewish practice. So now we're going to bring you forward to the, Middle Ages. So an apikoros in Yiddish means the dude who sits in front of the synagogue on Yom Kippur eating a ham sandwich. It really meant the best term today would be atheist. But, atheist doesn't communicate it. Atheist means, I don't believe in God. And apikoros, if you were to say to somebody, you're an apikoros, it was like cussing them out. So apikoros became a term, a skeptic. And apikoros was a skeptic. Okay. So, and who knows the term that, what was the name of, even though I didn't include him here. Oh, here he is, number 26. What was the name of the emperor? 26.
Antiochus.
Antiochus the fourth. Remember, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 was not so bad, by the way, but he died in battle. Antiochus the fourth started calling himself Antiochus Epiphanes. This is all in my paper, by the way. You got to read my papers and read the textbooks. Epiphanies, these are also Greek words. What is epiphany? I had an epiphany. What's an epiphany? I saw. Had a revelation. Literally means God, a image of God. Isn't epiphany used sometimes in Christian philosophy also? Right? Paul had an epiphany, meaning he literally saw Jesus in heaven, I guess. So Antiochus, in his egotism, Antiochus was a lot like a certain president coming in, or used to be president, or better yet, if you don't want to go with Trump, go with Nixon. This kind of, when the president does it, it isn't illegal. That was what Nixon was famous for saying in his interview with David Frost. But this was not a democracy. The emperor was the boss. But Antiochus went further than that. He said, I am the image of God. Antiochus Epiphanes. So that was what he called himself. So what did people call him? They said, no, you're not. You're Antiochus Epimanes. What does Epimanes mean? Maniac. So, and frankly, Antiochus really did have quite a reputation as being, he was very vain and very egotistic. Okay, so let's see how we do on these true false questions. This is not only Hanukkah. This is also the Roman period, the rabbinic period. Number 27, this was a test for the kids. But if you learn these questions, you'll learn them. The Mishnah is written in Hebrew, while the Gemara is written in Aramaic. True or false?
True.
True. The answer is T, true. Okay, the Mishnah is written in Hebrew because the Mishnah was in the period, remember we looked at that, right? Looked at that very small text. So the Gemara was written later on when they were already moving to Babylonia. Okay, and most of these, a bunch of them are true, so it won't be tricky. Number 28. Anybody want to read this instead of me? Sam?
The Mishnah is usually written in short sentences or phrases, which simply tell the law with little discussion or explanation.
And is that true or false?
True.
Well, the answer is right there, but it's true. This is how you keep kosher. This is how you build a sukkah. This is how you feed your dog. They would literally say, you must feed your dog before you feed yourself. But then the Gemara comes along and say, well, what if you're really hungry, or what if you can't afford a sukkah? So that's, again, the difference between Mishnah and Gemara. All right, number 29. You want to read that one, Rick? The rabbis read loud voice.
The rabbis regarded the Torah as the revealed word of God, and therefore would not amend or ignore Hakala, and they felt no longer met the needs of their time. Rather, they would interpret it in a different way, even if that meant that, in effect, they were changing its meaning.
Or even annulling a law. Annulling. What's annulling? Everybody know what that is? Say, we don't do that anymore.
That's a good example.
Okay, so I was going to give some examples of that. And this was, again, it was a test for, there was a whole class I taught in Jewish day school. But so the best example of that you would know, there's several, but the best one that I can think of was in our class, the material from the intro in Denver. They talked about, in the Torah, it says, if your child is rebellious and cusses you out, you must take him to before the elders and stone him. Oh, come on. We don't do that. So what they did was, but it said, but the Torah is holy. It was written by God. Blah, 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 blah. So what they would say is, okay, then they go into the Gemara. What does that mean? What does it mean to be a ben sorer or moreh, or a rebellious child? It means he's already been arrested 25 times, and he's already dealing dope in the streets, and he's already, incorrigible. So he's already been to court anyway. Now, so, and then they said something very interesting. They said, any court, this is again, the Sanhedrin, any court that would issue a capital punishment more than once in every 25 years is a horrible court. Basically, what they were saying is, we're not going to do that anymore. And by the way, they weren't allowed to, the rabbis, but, again, I talk about the Monty Python scenes with the guys stoning them. They just didn't do that by that period. Okay, another example of that, and the obvious is number 30. The sabbatical year. The sabbatical year, and this is also true. The sabbatical year was supposed to be reserved, remember they have to let the land lie fallow. And then the 49th year is, or rather the 50th year is, all the debts are forgiven. So the 7 years were great for the land, but people couldn't get loans. So Hillel actually instituted something called a prose bool. I mean, it would be like somebody saying, all right, for this, the next 25 years, people don't have to pay their taxes, so. Okay, number 31. These are all just things for you to think about. You can all read these in materials. What did the Sadducees believe? Who wants to read that one? Taylor, you want to read?
Sure.
One.
Zoom in. The Sadducees priests did not believe in life after death, while the Pharisees or rabbis did. True.
And it says T there, but just so you know, it is true, and we talked about that. Now, this one, number 32, I didn't teach you guys. I talked about it a little bit, but in the Greek model of the city-state, this is for the period of the Greeks, the boule, it was called a boule, it means like a town council. And it was basically, it was a democracy. It was democracy for the rich, So they were the stalwarts, the men of the town, all that kind of stuff. Hey, these are all true. I think I must have given you guys an easy one. Okay, number 33. How about Sam again? Because we talked about this.
Jewish young men who played in the Greek-style gymnasia were sometimes ridiculed because they were circumcised and because it was also customary to offer sacrifices to the gods in the gymnasia.
Yeah, it's gymnasium, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. Sorry, I can't make it much bigger. Maybe I can. Okay, let's see. View, zoom in. Oh, I made it a little bigger. All right, so is that true or false?
True.
Yeah, can you imagine? We all love to go to the gym, but they had to go to the gym in the nude, and at the entrance to the gymnasium, you would have a little altar for Apollo, because Apollo, by the way, was, that's why I compared Hellenism from then to the materialism of today. So I want to be buff. I want to be, so now we love to go to gyms. Jews love to go to gyms. Everybody loves to go to gyms, but it was part of the whole religious culture. And that's why, who was I talking to? I don't want to say any names of anybody. I was talking to a man the other day who actually had done he pulled the foreskin forward on himself, or pulled the foreskin back rather, to create kind of a circumcision for himself. It was really interesting. So, and I told you guys, I don't mean to be too graphic or gross, but I told you that it was, the rabbis made the circumcision that much more strict because of all these guys who were doing that. All right, let's do number 34. This is a cool one. And this is where I said that it was a lot like the American Revolution, right? At the beginning of the Hasmonean Revolt, it was far more likely for rural folks to support the Maccabees than wealthy folks from Jerusalem or other city-states. Well, that's a giveaway, right? Because, I know what I did. I did have one false one here. So does that make sense to you? Right? That these guys were, the rural folks, the down-home folks were more wanting to keep their religions. In fact, I've talked about great things about the Maccabees. I could even make the case that the Maccabees were kind of fanatical, right, compared to people of the time. But what were their choices? Either one or the other. So the Hellenists were go along to get along, and the Maccabees say, we're going to fight like hell. All right. Here we go. Number 35. I just said this one. Who wants to read that one? Antiochus the Fourth? Should I just do it?
Sure.
Okay, go.
Oh, go ahead, Jessica.
Okay, 35. So Antiochus the fourth, is that or fifth? Chose the name Antiochus Epiphanes, but the people ridiculed him by calling him Antiochus Epiphanes, meaning Antiochus the madman.
It was Saturday Night Live of that era. I can be so bold. It's just, it was really, it was very easy to make fun of these guys. Thank you, Jessica. That's great. Can anybody think of a parallel? Of making fun of a leader? Charlie Chaplin made fun of Hitler in the movie The Great Dictator. And when we get to Purim, you'll see how the way that the Purim story evolved, not the story, but the way that people celebrated it was kind of like minstrel theater, I don't mean minstrel, excuse me, Jessica. I didn't mean blackface. I mean, the Punch and Judy shows, let's dress up like the king, and they say, who are you? Oh, I'm King Ahasuerus. And he was really dressed. Whoops. Okay. All right. Number 36. This is also interesting. One of the most important issues for the Syrians was the need to develop collaborators in the conquered countries so that they could get their hands on money in the religious institutions. That's what I talked about. Remember? Very important. All right, that's true. All right, number 37. If you get this wrong, you're fired. You don't get to go to the Beit Din. The rabbis were descended from the Sadducees or priestly class and were mostly rich landloaders. Okay, that one's false. So it's the opposite. Actually, the Sadducees were not landowners either, but they were the rich. They were rich because they worked in the temple. Oh, here's a good one. I did not tell you this one, but all right. This again, to go back to folklore. Why do people give away gelt? Well, the custom of giving kids little coins began in Europe, but it turns out that they would real coins, little tiny gold coins. Here, kid, present. Mommy can't afford to buy you, a train set, but here's a coin. You can go buy yourself a pickle. So it began in the Middle Ages, but it turns out that there was a time after the rebellion where Grandpa still had a coin. What was on the coin? And I'm paralleling it to the Confederacy, so please forgive me. There were people who they made coins in the Confederacy, and they put on the coin was Jefferson Davis. So the Maccabees, for the 100 years or so that they had their independence, had coins with the picture of Judah Maccabee on the coin. So it's possible that the custom of giving coins began even earlier than that. All right. So who came up with the idea of chocolate coins? You want to know? Some Hershey guy in the 30s came up with the chocolate coins. So there we have it. All the foods for Hanukkah: latkes, sufganiyot, buñuelos, if you're Sephardic, and gelt. What is gelt, by the way? What's the word gelt mean? German for gold. All right. Number 39. Anybody want to answer this one?
Sure, I will. The period of Jewish independence under the Hasmonean rulers lasted approximately 102 years until the Romans took over Judea.
And that
5 to 63 BCE.
And that is true. Good. So you guys are going to be Hanukkah geniuses. Now, by the way, I mean, I had hoped tonight to give something else out, but it's in the material I sent you. I did 2 games that are fun. And if you do them like, what's the word I'm looking for? In reverse, do the answers first and then try the test yourself. You ever do that? I'm very good at crossword puzzles. So the first one is called the Latka Bowl. And I may do some of it here. And maybe you'll know the answers, and half the congregation won't know the answers. So, here's some gelt. Sam, can you recite the first blessing for Hanukkah? Yeah, sure, I know that. Boom, and Sam gets some gelt. Here's a gelt, or somebody runs over and gives them a coin, a bag. And then the next question would be, which brother fell under the elephant? As I told you before, elephant, Elazar. So I called it. You had the Rose Bowl and you had the Cotton Bowl. So I called it the Latka Bowl. So it's a collection of Hanukkah trivia. So that would be some of those. So the second thing I did was make up a crossword puzzle. Now, when you make up a crossword puzzle, not all the answers are going to be Hanukkah related. So that is something you guys can do on your own. All right, let's stop the share. What I want to leave you with is to remind you, you do not have to be scholars on the rabbinic period, but you do need to begin to look at, take these 2 sheets, which is, and we'll review them. We'll do them next semester too. Let me get the other one up there also. Where is it? Holiday sheets. So these 2 holiday sheet, sheet 1 and sheet 2, that's all it is, are really easy to study with. Some of them we've done. We have not done all the holidays, but let's see. Holiday study sheet number 1. Okay. And I'll put it in the screen share. But I'm not going to teach it tonight. I'm just going to say, keep learning on these on your own. Look them up. Look up a holiday. If you weren't at Thai holidays, maybe you can go back and learn it. For a lot of you, this is a long-term thing anyway. Where is the screen share? Oh, screen share. I'm not doing chat. I'm doing share. There we go. There it is. So, and Rick has the advantage of being here. Okay. So very briefly, oops, I lost it. This is great to study with. Again, which is some of this class is me teaching, but some of it is independent study, if you want to call it that. Rosh Hashanah. What time of year? September, October. What does it celebrate? Oh, the Jewish New Year, but also, the idea of beginning the 10 days of introspection. What is the prayer book called? Machzor. What is done? The shofar is blown. What foods do you eat? Apples and honey. What else do you eat? Around challah, not a regular, what do you call it, right? What's it called? A braided challah. Yom Kippur. What foods do we eat on Yom Kippur? Fast food. Ha 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 ha. You didn't get the joke? Fast food? Fast food. Fast food. Yes. No, you don't eat food on Yom Kippur. But this is important. 3 major concepts for Yom Kippur. Okay. 3. Now, what is important on this as well is that it covers, in many cases, not in every one, in the major holidays, an agricultural theme, a historical theme, and an ethical theme, or political sometimes. So for Sukkot, we have the harvest festival, the historical theme of being in the wilderness, and the ethical theme that we are all equal. We're also the idea of a sukkah being simple. We're living like the poor in this little shelter. You know that in Brazil, people live in shelters that look just like that. So we're up to Hanukkah. So we've gotten through this part of the year. And when we come back, we will, this year, by the way, Tu B'Shvat comes in February, so we'll do it then. So there you go. Okay, that's for your study. Now, anybody have a closing question or thought that I can answer quickly?
This might be kind of a deviation from Hanukkah, but
I love it. You're always the deviant.
yeah. Is there ever a time where like the shofar is blown outside of the high holidays?
That's a great question. Yes and no. Again, that's why these symbols become meaningful. The shofar was blown in the biblical period. I'll make it as quick as I can. Shofar was blown for battle and for bringing the people back to faith. And also, if you remember, Joshua walked around the city of Jericho and blew it down. So during the protests around the Iraq War, a lot of people started blowing shofars as a protest, all right? And you'd see people with a shofar out in the street. Christians have begun, thank you very much. All right, let's appreciate that. Christians have begun blowing shofars in temples, in churches. So the answer is no. Well, I got to put a cover on that because it'll start melting. I mean, there's a cover and there's a somewhere there's a rubber band. Anyway, a shofar is sui generis to Rosh Hashanah and at the end of the holidays for Yom Kippur. So as far as blowing it in the ritual way, that would be the only time. But we live in a time where people take on symbols. Now, you wouldn't light a menorah in the middle of Purim or at Pesach, but somehow the shofar has become a kind of a symbol of liberation. So I have begun seeing shofars. I saw shofars being blown in Israel during the holiday period, not on Rosh Hashanah, but people walking around the streets. People were blowing the shofar again, and demonstrations are a great place to do these things. In Israel, they were blowing the shofar at demonstrations against Bibi. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's protest, but it is to carry that element. So, but I guess it's like everything else you would do. Do it only if you know what you're doing and you know what the symbolism is, and don't just willy-nilly say, "Yeah, I'm going to blow the shofar." But it is a holy symbol for Rosh Hashanah and should only be blown, ritually speaking, for that day. But if you're a rabbi, you can do a lot of things. or if you go, yeah.
And you found out you had to soak
it?
Or did
Somebody told me that if you soak it in water, hot water, it rehydrates it and gets a better rhythm. Oh, and I blew the shofar. I went to a protest in LA and I blew the shofar in a demonstration a long time ago. So, but again, it's something you want to be careful with. You don't want to offend people. Okay. I will see everybody. I'm glad in a way that it was, Stephanie was going to come tonight too. I'll see everybody at any of the events that you come to. Don't be afraid to come to the Chinese restaurant with the kids if that's an issue, because there's always, they're used to that. People, except it will be a crazy night because it is Christmas Eve. But definitely come to December 29 for our Hanukkah celebration here.